What if I told you the ultimate overland rig might be hiding in a soccer mom minivan or your grandma's hybrid? Before you laugh, stay tuned because we're about to reveal 5 seemingly ordinary vehicles that can be transformed into trail-worthy rigs. It might just make you rethink what a capable off-roader can actually start out as. Hey guys, welcome back to Chasing Dust, your show for all things off-road. I'm your host, Matt McAdam, only here on Driving Line, and today we're stepping off the beaten path, literally, to check out some ridiculously cool off-road builds that you'd never expect to see on the trail. So grab a seat and let's get into it. So in this episode, we're counting down 5 unlikely platforms that make surprisingly good off-roaders once you give them a little bit of love. We'll talk about how these vehicles are being lifted, the kits, the max tire sizes, and why they might actually be smart or at least fun choices for hitting the dirt. From budget-friendly builds to ones that break necks all over town, this is your insider's guide to unconventional off-road rigs. All right, so starting out with number 1 on our list is the Chrysler Pacifica. Yes, you heard that right. So starting out our list with number 1 is the Chrysler Pacifica. Yes, you heard that right. The Pacifica minivan can be turned into an adventure mobile. This is the same Pacifica that hauls kids to soccer practice, now lifted and rocking all-terrain tires. So why the Pacifica? Well, for starters, it's one of the only minivans with available all-wheel drive. That means decent traction to begin with, and used Pacificas, especially a few years old, are relatively affordable. And you get a comfortable, spacious interior, which is a big plus for overlanding and camping trips on a budget. But how do you make it trail-worthy? Believe it or not, somebody actually makes a spacer kit for this thing. Journeys Off-Road offers a 2 3/4 inch lift kit for 2017 and up Pacificas. That's strut extensions up front and coil spacers in the rear with some bracketry. With that kit, you can actually fit up to a 31-inch tire without any fender trimming at all. Just use a small wheel spacer for the rear. The result is roughly 2 to 3 inches of extra ground clearance, which actually puts it in crossover territory. So why is it a good platform? Well, aside from the all-wheel drive, it's stealth and comfort. It doesn't scream off-roader, which some might find in a cool tongue-in-cheek kind of way. You've got room to step inside, carry lots of gear, and you can still daily drive it. And showing up at an off-road event in a lifted minivan is kind of a flex if I'm being honest. It's a conversation starter, all for a fraction of the cost of a built 4x4 van or an SUV. Next up at number 2 on our list is the Porsche Cayenne. This one might be a bit more obvious as it's gaining a cult following among off-road guys. Early Cayennes from the 2000s have become surprisingly affordable on the used market, dropping from 6-figure price tags to well under $20,000, even for the V8 models. And beneath that Porsche badge, you'll find serious 4x4 hardware. Full-time all-wheel drive, locking center, and even rear differentials on some trims, advanced traction management, and on-air suspension models up to 10.6 inches of ground clearance in off-road mode. In other words, a stock Cayenne actually has the bones of a proper off-roader. But the question remains, how do you lift a Cayenne? There are a couple of routes. If you have factory air suspension, one trick is to electronically lock it in its highest setting, which alone can let you fit up to a 33-inch tire. For a more robust solution, however, aftermarket lift kits do exist. Companies like Eurowise make a 2 to 3-inch lift kit for the first-gen Cayennes, including strut spacers and subframe drops. With a 3-inch Eurowise lift kit, plus some fender trimming, you can actually cram a 34-inch tire into that fender wall. So what makes the Cayenne so compelling? Well, first of all, you have capability. You're starting with a vehicle that's engineered to excel in any terrain, some with low-range transfer cases and factory skid plates even. Add the emerging aftermarket support, and you have a luxury SUV that can follow a Wrangler down many trails. Plus, the price-to-performance ratio is wild on these things. A used Cayenne Turbo with 450 horsepower and locking diffs might cost less than a new base model side-by-side, and it's still got a Porsche badge just covered in dust. Number 3 on our list is the Honda Element, part SUV, part rolling dorm room, and totally underrated as an off-road project if you ask me. This funky little box from the mid-2000s has a lot going for it. Honda reliability, a peppy 4-cylinder, and available all-wheel drive with a huge, easy-to-load interior with clamshell doors and a washable floor. Lifting the Element is pretty straightforward since it shares some DNA with the CR-V, and HRG Off-Road and Aerogenics are 2 of the big names in the Element community. The common lift heights range from 1.5 to 3 inches, but 3 inches is considered the max before you start needing some significant mods to fix the CV joint angles. With a 2 to 3 inch lift, however, the Element can fit around a 29-inch tire, and that's actually a pretty big jump over the stock 26-inch tires. And if that's not wild enough for you, HRG Off-Road even developed a 6-inch lift kit called the Beast. With that, they recommend a 31-inch tire for everyday use and say that you can actually squeeze a 33 in there with some trimming. Now that's a Wrangler level stance on a rolling toaster Honda. So why on earth would you want to build an element for an off-roader? Affordability, practicality, and uniqueness. You can pick up a used element for cheap, the parts are plentiful, and the interior can hold all your gear, or you can even convert it into a camper, and reliability is classic Honda. If you want a compact overlander that's cheap, easy to work on, and completely different from the Tacoma crowd, the element delivers. Number 4 on our list is the Toyota Prius. Not kidding. If any vehicle screams responsible city commuter, it's the Toyota Prius, which is exactly why lifting one is so brilliant. Picture a Prius with a lift kit and chunky off-road tires just silently crawling up the trail. The most popular approach to lifting one is with a modest spacer lift. Prius Off-Road sells a 1.5-inch lift kit, and they cap it there because anything more stresses the geometry of the suspension. Now with that lift, the max tire diameter is around 27 inches. That's up from the stock 25-inch tires, giving it about 2.5 to 3 inches of total height gain when combined. Now, why would you want to take a Prius off-road? Well, it's efficient, it's reliable, and it breaks stereotypes. Imagine driving to a remote trailhead averaging 40 miles per gallon and using the hybrid battery to power all your camping gear. Older Prius, whatever you call them, they're cheap. And with a basic lift in all terrains, you've got a light off-roader that can handle dirt roads and mild trails. Plus, the weirdness factor is gold. It's a rolling joke until you see it in the middle of nowhere next to your $90,000 4Runner build. Actually, it is the least. Yeah, the mighty smart car. That tiny 2-seater city car turned trail machine. Lifting a smart car is the automotive equivalent of a Chihuahua barking at a German Shepherd. Absurd, but somehow awesome. Believe it or not, there is a 2-inch Daystar lift kit for the first-gen smart car with front strut spacers, rear coil spacers, and a steering shaft extension. That bumps up the car's ground clearance from 5 inches to 7 inches, combined with the slightly smaller wheel and bigger style ATV tires, and you can get about 3 to 4 inches of total lift out of a smart car. There are even smart cars with 35-inch mud terrains, although those essentially are just body swaps onto a UTV chassis. So why did the smart car make the list? Well, for fun and novelty. That's really it. They're not exactly practical off-road, but the ultra short wheelbase and lightweight help with the breakover angles, and you can tow it easily behind an RV as a trail runabout. Used smart cars are pretty cheap these days. Lift kits are just a few $100, and maintenance is pretty simple. I'd even argue it's a little more than a conversation piece. It's a legit trail buggy. And so there you have it, guys. 5 vehicles you never thought you'd see playing in the dirt. Each of these builds shows that with some creativity, a lift kit, and some bigger tires, you can turn almost anything into an adventure rig. So I'm curious, which one of these crazy builds would you want to try? Drop it in the comments below, and also tell us about the weirdest off-road rig you've seen out there. I've definitely seen some weird stuff out there. I think I once saw a 1980s era Mercedes diesel sedan with big off-road tires and a hood stack out at King of the Hammers. Super cool build. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Driving Line for more fun episodes like this one. But that's going to do it for us this time on Chasing Dust. And once again, I'm your host, Matt McAdam, only on Driving Line, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is Matt from Chasing Dust. Be sure to hit that subscribe button because Driving Line's creating all kinds of awesome content for gearheads just like you. I'll see you guys out there.